Right. Welcome, everyone, to the Meridian Business Continuing Partner Spotlight Series. Today, we welcome Appficiency with their portfolio of solutions extending the value proposition for the NetSuite solution into the construction and related industries. We'll elaborate on that as we go through in much more detail, but we do a monthly series with a varying partner, and I'll let them introduce themselves here in a moment. But thank you for joining us. If you would, Cheyenne, if you could hit the next slide, we're going to cover an introduction into the folks from Appficiency that are here today, an overview of their solution, the company, and an ideal customer profile. Several of their construction SKUs or product components, and a high-level demo of those products, and some next steps and actions if you're interested in pursuing that conversation further. So prior to getting started, I want to just reiterate a little bit about Meridian Business. We are an Oracle NetSuite solution provider. That means that we operate in the market as a reseller of the Oracle NetSuite solution and implementation partner, and we provide ongoing managed services and support for the platform. Meridian is an exclusive solution provider. We do all things NetSuite, and kind of staying with the construction theme, we kind of go to market as a bit of a general contractor. NetSuite's a great platform, but the purpose of these spotlights is to help folks understand the other capabilities that are out there in the marketplace to help extend the value proposition, not unlike Appficiency is sharing today. We're a trusted partner with a methodology for implementing NetSuite that's been born from our partnership and leadership team. Have over 150 years of experience in dealing with a lot of different flavors of ERP, and we've refined that down to a very efficient method to stay on time, on budget with the deployment of NetSuite. We kind of are end to end in terms of in the pre-sales mode, helping you with the evaluation and solution configuration and phasing NetSuite in so your investment can fit within a budget and fit within kind of a phased ROI plan over a period of time. If you're interested, there'll be some contact information at the end of the presentation. But with that, I want to turn it over to Cheyenne and Eric to take you through exactly what Appficiency is and how it can add value to your NetSuite instance. So, Cheyenne, I'll pass it to you.
Awesome. Thanks, Doug. Do you hear me? Okay.
Yes, just fine.
Perfect. So we're excited to be representing Appficiency today and our innovative suite of products that ultimately really helps construction firms increase their margins and become more efficient in their financial management processes. But before we get into it, my name is Cheyenne Rostgu. I'm the Channel and Product Marketing Manager here at Appficiency. I come with a host of background in the sales and marketing side, but as well in the past few years, I've been involved with Appficiency in the design and expansion of our construction suite of products. And as well, I've been involved in the education side of it, towards how the construction industry progresses throughout the project lifecycle and what needs our software can actually serve. With me, there's Eric Ribeiro. He's our Star Solutions Architect, and I will pass it on to Eric to introduce himself.
Awesome. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Eric Ribeiro, Solution Consultant here at Appficiency. I'm actually based out of the Boston area. So our team here at Appficiency, we have people all around the world. In fact, our headquarters is based in Toronto, but we also have an office here in Denver, as well as multiple different offices in the Australia, APAC region, as well as the Middle East. And so our solution truly does cross waters and bridge those gaps. And so I've been here at Appficiency for about a year now. As a solution consultant, really my role is focusing on our built for NetSuite products and being that product expert on how our product fits into a variety of different industries, specifically construction and construction related industries. And I'll certainly address that today and address some of the challenges our customers come to us for, specifically within the NetSuite ecosystem. I've been in the NetSuite ecosystem for over 4 years now, and actually started my software consulting journey working at Oracle NetSuite, where I built and acquired my knowledge of NetSuite and its capabilities as a whole, understanding that there were some gaps within the construction industry when we think about NetSuite out of the box, right? And so there was an opportunity there, especially for a company like Appficiency, to come in and build the features and the functions, so to speak, to be able to bridge those gaps and understand the requirements that are needed to run a construction company, right? Especially a profitable one. So we'll be diving into some of those products that we ultimately developed to help address some of those challenges today. With
Awesome.
that, I'll pass it back to Shaya.
Perfect. Thanks, Eric. So a little bit of background about Appficiency. We were founded in 2014, over a decade ago now, as a NetSuite implementation and integration shop. Our focus originally was really to solve the most complex industry problems, but soon after we realized that there's really opportunity for us to step into the construction area and create software modules on top of NetSuite that focus its general yet powerful capabilities more towards, like Eric mentioned, the gaps that exist in the construction ERP realm. So that was over 5 years ago now. Ever since, we've continued to expand our products and our industry depth of knowledge. Like Eric mentioned, we have offices now from Vancouver all the way to Japan, and have been able to create a firm and to become one of the only partners that have a dedicated team of 25 plus engineers, really that live and breathe construction. They're just focused on building new software to make lives of construction financial managers easier. We also have 35 plus trained and certified consultants, specifically in the construction cell, as we call it. And we've proven our software's efficacy and our consulting ability with over 50 successful implementations. And we're also one of the only partners in the industry that can solve some of these key industry gaps, like being able to report progress billing based on certified AI formatting, being able to calculate union payroll, construction work in progress based on over budget and under budget periodic calculations. And also we've created a second-gen Procore integration that fully integrates through a bidirectional connector the capabilities of Procore and connects it to NetSuite. So some of our ideal customer profiles that we focus on through the construction area have been born out of our experience in realizing the mutually exclusive software requirements that each of these sub-verticals have. So as a matter of fact, a lot of construction businesses do have processes that are overlapping, but there are still specific features that separate them that have allowed us to focus the software more towards those sub-verticals. So on the left-hand side, we have owners and GCs. Traditionally, you could have either owners or general contractors, but we do see them happening more together. And they act really as the connection between the owner who pays for the project and the several different specialty or trade subcontractors that are focused on different parts of a construction project. Let's say, for example, the roofing versus the concrete and the electrical engineering of a home building project. Now, GCs have substantial need as a result to be able to manage the relationship between the subcontractors, such as being able to consolidate their different change orders into one source of truth in their accounting books and to be able to report those to the owner and receive the payments for them. They also need to be able to withhold and release retainage to ensure project success. And as well, they may need integration with project management tools such as Procore and ProEst. On the other hand, we have specialty contractors that they're really the doers of the construction projects, meaning at least 50% of their work is done actually by their own full-time employees, and they may have the need to track their own equipment's use and the material that's been used into that finished product. So as a result, job costing becomes a major need for specialty contractors, who they also may be called trade performers. On top of job costing, being able to report their costs based on the labor, equipment, subcontractors, and so on, in a certified format, in a compliant format with AA standards, such as the G702, G703 invoices or forms, is paramount to them. On the last side, we have the construction or engineering to order, ETO firms, that really we can think of them as a hybrid between manufacturers and construction firms. They don't follow the discrete manufacturing processes where usually each step is similar. Instead, they have very unique projects, very unique things that they're building. Some of our previous customers have built, for example, the animatronics for Hollywood and Disney movies, like the robots, or building the roller coasters for different amusement parks. These projects may take a couple of years to completion, and each of them may have very specific portions that are different from the other projects. We see in ETO and construction firms a substantial need with project management tools, and as well requirements for CAD integration and takeoff sheets be some of the common needs that arise across these verticals. In summary, what allows us to be able to be a lot more focused inside these different micro verticals, as we call them, in the construction realm, is our revolutionary approach to the structure of NetSuite ERP for our clients, which we call itemless revolution. This allows us to step away from the one obstacle that NetSuite has traditionally posed to construction clients, which is the reliance on specific items. And instead, we can use work codes that can either be standard for industries or customized for you to track your project metrics throughout its entire life cycle. And that's what really creates our big differentiation across the different ERP partners. So I will pass it on here to Eric to discuss some of the past clients that he's been very involved with and his experience with them.
Awesome, amazing. Thank you, Cheyenne. Yeah, I wanted to highlight here quickly just some three of our customers, current customers that I've intimately had the pleasure of working with. And so, as Cheyenne sort of alluded to earlier in the previous slide, we work across a number of different industries, or what we call internally micro verticals, right? And so depending on the specific requirements and needs of a customer in the construction or construction related industry, our products can serve a multitude of purposes. Great example of that is First On-Site Restoration. So they're a leading North American disaster restoration company specializing in providing restoration services for, events where your property is damaged, say by fire, water, wind, other sort of Mother Nature disasters. So they offer emergency response, they offer mitigation, reconstruction services to residential, commercial, industrial, and institutional type clients. And so, First On-Site, really what they were aiming to do is they were aiming to ultimately control their costs on an ERP platform, on a single source of truth, because their issue was they had multiple disparate systems where they had to ultimately mine data in order to get actionable insights. And so that took many hours, many weeks to ultimately understand how a project was progressing, week over week, month over month, and that led them to ultimately impact their bottom line and project profitability. And so they've been a customer of ours for quite some time now, and they continue to see success as they continue to use NetSuite, but also our products. Warranty remodeling is another one. They're probably more what people think of when they hear the word construction. They're a full service remodeling company, and they're based out of Waunakee, Wisconsin, and they serve the Madison, Wisconsin area in surrounding areas. So they specialize in home renovation and improvement projects where they offer a wide range of services So they do things like kitchen and bathroom remodeling, basement finishing, home additions. They do exterior renovations and things along those lines. So they're sort of what the average person may think of, as I mentioned, when the word construction is brought up. And so they initiated with us because they were coming off a legacy system and they needed a more modern solution that ultimately would fit their needs, not only for today, but also going into the future. And then Vicor Teleconstruction, they're sort of a hybrid that Cheyenne mentioned earlier. They're construction, but they're also engineer to order. So Vicor Teleconstruction, what they do is they specialize in telecommunication infrastructure development. And if you see those sort of large towers on the side of the road or in middle America, sort of in the plains, and you see these large telecommunication towers, that's essentially what Vicor Teleconstruction does. And so what they do is they design, they build, and they maintain these various telecommunication networks. So they do everything from fiber optic cables, they do wireless and satellite systems. And so what they essentially do as part of the project lifecycle is they're doing site surveying, they're doing engineering, they're doing the actual installation of those towers and sort of the ongoing maintenance of those towers as those towers age. And so you could see just across these three different customers, there are different requirements and sort of different things that they do, but ultimately our product serves a purpose, and it's to track the different inputs of those projects, whether that be on the cost side or whether that be on the revenue side, to enable these companies to understand their projects at a more granular level, whether it's at the periodic level, it's at the work code level, it's at the cost level, it's at the revenue level, right? And although these companies have different footprints in different businesses, ultimately they have very, very similar challenges in when it comes to tracking their projects, week to week, month to month. So what I wanted to sort of highlight next is our products that ultimately our customers are using today and the different offerings we have here at Appficiency that are built on NetSuite. And that's a key distinction, because many times companies may integrate, say, a solution like Procore or Buildertrend or integrate other third-party solutions into their ERP. And that can cause issues, especially if it's not pre-built or if there's no way for those two systems to ultimately sync together or talk to one another. Our products are specifically built on NetSuite's foundation. And I like to say, you really don't understand where NetSuite stops and where our product begins, because our product is intimately built on NetSuite and to look and feel like NetSuite does. And so starting from top to bottom, what you'll see here is at the top is really the heart of our solution. And so this is our job costing solution and is probably the most integral part of our product. And so, we used to refer to it as material job costing, because for those of us that know NetSuite, it's more than NetSuite job costing. It's more than just based off of labor. Our job costing provides visibility into that complete project profitability that includes not only labor, but things like materials, equipment, subcontractor, overhead. It gives you that whole picture and allows you to track your costs and your revenues at different levels. And we'll actually get into that a little bit later. Second on this list is our project dashboard. So this builds on top of the job costing module, and that it gives users an interface full of dashboards where they can interact with different charts and graphs to view metrics around their different cost and revenue trends. Oftentimes we hear project accounting and project management teams, they have to mine their data and then use Excel to craft different reports and charts. And this bridges that gap for many of our customers. Oftentimes what we hear is, as a user, you just want to enter a database or enter a platform. And the first thing you want to see is dashboards and charts that give you insights into a specific project, that give you alerts on exceptions that are happening throughout that project lifecycle, to alert users, hey, maybe this task, we need to look into this because we're over budget, or we're at 20% of, or we only have 20% of our budget left for this specific work code or activity, and you want that to be surfaced, not at at the transactional level. You want that to be surfaced more at the chart or graphical level, and so users know exactly when a project needs to be handled, or when a specific task needs to be say, readjusted. We also have a product called ProSync, and this is really, you could think about it as connecting the gap between your estimating team and those that are on the project team, and the information that has to pass from those two different departments. And so essentially what the ProSync product does is it's going to sync everything on an estimate to the actual project and create the necessary project tasks so that you could start booking resources to it, and those resources can then begin tracking time to those specific lines that were on that proposal and estimate. And oftentimes what we see is there's a one-to-one relationship between what is on that proposal and the different activities on that proposal or schedule of values and the actual project tasks that ultimately resources have to accomplish or have to get work done on. And so it's not a unique concept, so to speak, in NetSuite, but it enables all those pieces again to come together and bridges that gap between that estimate and between that project record in NetSuite. And then the last part is our retainage piece, or I shouldn't say the last part, but one of sort of the ending pieces of the AR and AP piece is what we call retainage, right? Very, very common requirement in construction where something's being retained or held back in the transaction, both on the AR and AP side. You know, some percentage of that is going to be held back until, say, a certain milestone or a certain project is completed. So it acts as that assurance for those stakeholders. And so we support that right down to the GL impact of that retainage, not just, carving it out as something to look at, but actual GL impacts and treating that differently than your normal receivables and your normal payables. And so, as a user, you can see that delineation between those two different accounts. We also have a piece called progress billing, what we refer to as billing for construction. Really, this is schedule of values presentation. This is progress billing based off of incremental work completed on a period by period basis. Most commonly, people are very, very familiar with those sort of AIA forms or AIA similarly formatted transactions. And so we support that. And we actually can generate the G702s and the G703s straight from our platform. And that's inherently integrated to the AR process within our system. And so when you're creating those invoices, you have those supporting documents that you can then include and package together with the invoices as you submit those records or transactions for payment to your owners and to your general contractors in some instances. And so as we look at this, these modules operate as a whole, but they also operate on their own. And so today we've got I believe it's now over 60 clients that are using all or some of these components across the construction industry, construction related industries. And so if we kind of take that comment and give you a little bit of snapshot of our ideal client profile, our products can really span a multitude of different industries and a multitude of customer profiles, and it really just depends what their requirements are and what features and what gaps they're looking to solve for within the NetSuite ecosystem. And so with that, I wanted to highlight a couple of our products here and just give a high level overview of what we have to offer here. And so this first slide is showing an example of our ProSync product. And so that's that bid or estimate to project sync capability. And so in construction, what we normally see is, if you look here highlighted, they have a structure which they break down their different inputs, so their different cost and revenue inputs by work code, by cost type, and even sometimes by item, depending on the company, right? If you're a home builder or a custom home builder, you may spec out specifically down to the doorknob or specifically down to the type of flooring that you're ultimately going to install on that project, right? And so we support it at that level, at that granular level, but we also support it at the higher level where maybe you're a GC and you don't necessarily need to know the nuts and bolts or the screws that are going to be installed by your subs. You just need to be able to track your billable and your cost amounts at a schedule of value level or at a cost code level. So you have that flexibility depending on the type of company you are and the requirements that you have for your specific business. In NetSuite, we support the CSI code format. We also support the master code format as well. Oftentimes what we'll see within the GC space, they'll use that CSI code format, or if If you're in another part of the world, they may have a specific format for that specific region. But we can also support customized or company-specific formats as well. And we often see that in the specialty trades industry. So our solution gives companies the ability to track those costs and revenues by those work codes and by those cost types. And then those codes then represent those schedule of values that lists what are my expected costs, what's my budget at completion, right? And then what's going to be my billable budget as I start to complete these milestones or these phases throughout that project. And so now for budgeting cost capturing, those same work codes can be used throughout the entire platform. Right? So as your users are entering transactions, as they're entering change orders, as they're entering invoices, or they're putting in commitments or purchase orders or vendor invoices, those same work codes and cost types can be used on those transactions to tie the pieces of the puzzle together. So when you go to run your different budget versus actual reports, or a work code budget versus actual report, or a project profitability report, all those pieces are inherently connected, and you can start to understand where you're over budget. Are you running up against a specific budget, or have you have your costs overrun your baseline budget that you set for that project? And so what you can also see is our product, and as I mentioned earlier, is we're going to sync these lines on this specific estimate and create the necessary project tasks on the project schedule. And so it's going to convert these lines on the contract that you see here to actionable tasks on the project, where now they have a work breakdown structure by work code, by line. We don't see this, as a requirement a lot of the time, but there are specific use cases where the contract ultimately is going to serve as that work breakdown structure or as that task schedule. So now as an employee, you may have budgeted, or as a company, you may have budgeted 200 hours for, say, final site survey or one of these specific lines on the original estimate. That information is going to get synced over to the project, where your resources or subcontractors can now enter time and capture their actuals against that, and you'll be able to report on that information as well. So not only that, in the background, the solution assigns what we call a generic resource for that specific activity, which makes it easier for those PMs who are working on those project schedules to assign and capture resources and those resource costs by those different tasks. And so on this next slide, you can see we're highlighting job costing and retainage. So as I mentioned earlier, this is really the heart of the solution, or the engine, so to speak. This is where, from a project profitability perspective, companies have the ability to configure key project metrics. What's my direct labor cost? What's my material cost? What do we have in the system for this project for change orders, so on and so forth. So these metrics can then also drive things like percent cost complete. They can drive revenue recognition. They can drive WIP. And so from a job costing reporting perspective, they get to see by work code, by period, those key metrics plotted out. And so as transactions are recorded in the system, this here is tying that all out to ultimately tell them their performance against their original budget. Right? Are we in line with the original budget that we set out when we signed this contract with customer X or customer Y? And so with our job costing product, you can track up to 16 metrics that are customizable. So that gives you the flexibility and the ability to track the metrics that are most important to your organization, that are going to tell you what you need to know about your specific project at a specific point in time. So everything from your revenue budget, your original cost budget, your change order budget, right? Any subcontract orders, your actual costs, actual cost to date, so on and so forth. So as long as the data is in NetSuite, we can summarize that data and track it as a job cost metric across your jobs. But all these values are updating automatically as day-to-day transactions are being entered and tagged to a project. So as someone who's managing a project, you're going to get real-time visibility into those metrics, and you can be alerted when certain events happen. For example, have your costs overrun your original budget, or are we overbilled, or are we underbilled on a specific project, right? Those are the sort of reports that you can run in the system when these transactions are being captured in real time. And so as a project manager, you can be more proactive and less reactive throughout that project lifecycle. Now, native NetSuite also has what we call revenue recognition capabilities. As I alluded to earlier, they only capture it based off of labor hours or based off of time entries. Our solution, you're actually able to define your own custom, what we call equation, right? Or your own custom formula. 95% of the time, we see it calculated as actual cost divided by total budgeted costs, but the definition of cost can vary from company to company, and you can drive your percent complete anyhow that fits your business, right? And so if you're taking direct costs, if you're taking indirect costs, overhead costs, actual costs that are coming from your subcontractors, and you want to include that in your formula, right? Our solution is flexible enough to support that. And so, for example, if your definition of cost, as I mentioned, is going to drive your percent complete, we can include that within our solution to be able to support the calculation for your WIP schedule and for your earned value or for your earned revenue. And so this is what the solution is doing. It's telling you what your cost completion is month over month. So when you're doing your WIP reporting and you're closing out the month, you can easily determine what that WIP amount is, and you're able to create journal entries based on that data. Now, next, we have an example of the outputs from our Appficiency billing for construction products, so our progress billing product. Many of you may be familiar or have heard of progress-based or AIA billing. So for progress-based billing, our solution enables companies to track and bill based on incremental work completed on a period-by-period basis. And so, for example, if you're a foreman or a project manager, and they say, hey, we've completed 30% or $30,000 worth of work, our solution gives them the ability to enter that input or use the system calculated cost progress to generate invoices in similar formatted AIA style PDFs that they can then attach to their invoices when requesting payment from their customers. Oftentimes what we hear as a requirement is they sort of just need a scratch pad where they can look at their project tasks, they can look at the different activities that are occurring during that project, and as a foreman or as a project manager that's out in the field, they just need to be able to say, okay, we have 30% of our project complete, or we're only 5% on this activity, 10% on that activity. And the system will then auto calculate what your billable value should be for that specific month or for that specific period. Right. So we support that, but we also support it in a way of you're tracking your percent work completed based off of fulfillment, right? How much material has been installed, or how much material has been used on a specific project, or maybe it's based off of labor hours input against specific activity codes. So there's a myriad of ways that we can support companies when they're calculating their progress-based bills. And these are just some examples of some outputs that we can generate. And so you can see here, sort of set in the back is your G703 form, right? So that's your continuation sheet that's listing out all of the different activities by work code and the different values that you'll be capturing from what's your initial schedule of value or initial budgeted billable amount, what was your work completed in this period and previous periods, and then all the rest of the columns over to the right here will show things like retainage, balance remaining, any materials that are presently stored. And then off in the front, set in the front, is your G702 form, right? This is your summary or your payment application that summarizes 9 different values for you to present as a package with your G703, G702, and your invoice when you present that for payment to your general contractor or to your to the owner directly or client. Related to this process is also retentions, which I believe was on the last slide, but we also automate the retention process, as you can see outlined on some of these lines here. And so we both support it from an AR and AP side, where a user can enter a default retainage amount, and our solution will automatically withhold that retainage percentage per AR invoice and per vendor bill and make the correct entries to the GL. And when it comes time to recover or release those withheld amounts, our solution gives users the ability to automatically generate those invoices for those withheld amounts, ensuring that all the parties are appropriately paid once those retentions have been released. And then next, we have our construction project dashboard. And this is the piece that everyone always gets excited about. I think just in general, when we can visualize and we can chart out the data that is within the system, and the data can work for us and not necessarily against us, and can highlight different trends that are happening throughout that project, that's very valuable information, right? We don't have to mine data. We don't have to export data into Excel. Excel's a great tool. I come from an accounting and finance background, and so I lived in Excel, and I did what I used to call Excel gymnastics with VLOOKUPs and HLOOKUPs. And what we've commonly heard, especially with users in the construction space, is it's great to have a visualization tool or a reporting tool within the system that allows us to chart out our different trends across our costs and across our revenues. And so what you're seeing here in front of you is just an example of our built-in dashboard and analytics for those different project KPIs that are most important for construction companies and project managers. And so as a project manager or as a user, they can come into their project record or to their home dashboard, and they can quickly see some visualization of their data that's easily consumable and, more importantly, more actionable. So this is just one flavor of our construction project dashboard, but we also provide a multitude of different reporting that comes with our solution across the different products. And so if you want to understand your job costing at a more granular level, at say the cost code or cost type level, our solution ultimately supports that. And so as we continue to talk to our customers and get in front of more prospects interested in our solution, and we learn what their challenges are, what their needs are, our focus is really delivering a solution that meets their needs, not only for today, but for many years to come, right? Cheyenne alluded to one of our recent product developments, which is our Procore integration. And so if you've been on NetSuite long enough, there have been a multitude of Procore integrations that were built to connect both NetSuite and Procore. And Cheyenne alluded to the fact that NetSuite relies on the item in order to move a transaction forward. So what we've done with our solution and with our Procore integration is we actually don't have that dependency on the item. And Procore doesn't necessarily have the concept of an item. And so we've specifically synced Procore to NetSuite using the schedule of value and using work codes in order for those integrations and those mappings to work the way that they were meant to. So now you have an integration that seamlessly connects all of your budgets, whether it's your schedule of values or your cost code budgets in Procore, and we can sync that information directly into NetSuite.
Awesome. So at this point, we can pass it on back to Doug. Thanks, Eric, for the walkthrough of our products.
Yeah, thank you so much, Cheyenne and Eric. Thank you. Very much appreciate the overview of Appficiency. As we said, tremendous extension of the value for those that have made the investment in NetSuite or are considering it in a net new purchase. Before we share some contact information, I just want everyone to watch for a blog post and a social media posting of the content of today's webinar. We'll get a blog post and a recap of this demo. But also in the future here, watch for our partner spotlights to come. NetStock, which is a supply and demand planning extension to NetSuite NMRP solution on the 18th of April, right around the corner, also at 11 a.m. Central. And then in May, we'll be highlighting 360 cloud subscription-based billing for recurring billing scenarios. Also, we've got a number of clients that are using both of these platforms and significantly extending the value proposition for NetSuite. If you maybe move to the next slide. Okay. I'll let you take this one and then I'll wrap it up.
Yeah, for sure. Thanks, Larry. Any inquiries, definitely feel free to reach out to myself or softwaresales@appficiencyinc.com. We're more than happy to share any information or as well demos, recordings, cut sheets, and so on to help you make your decisions about the next move in your business.
And likewise, if there's other interest in NetSuite, Meridian is based here in Overland Park, Kansas, right in the heart of America. If you're looking for a local partner in the Midwest, please feel free to reach out to me directly or drop a line to sales@meridianbusiness.com, and a member of our team will be back in touch very shortly. So again, a big round of applause and thank you to the Appficiency team. Very much appreciate it. And for those of you that have joined us online, thank you very much. Take care.
Thank you all.